not? People know me.
Goodness.
People are getting used to my shenanigans. If you're not used to my shenanigans yet, I can't help you.
I don't know what to do with you sometimes.
Alrighty. Hey, everybody. We are live.
Yeah, welcome to the GenXcynics.
You know what I didn't do? I didn't grab my mic. Did I grab my mic last time I did this, or did I just use the desktop audio?
I don't remember. We used
Oh.
my computer last time, that's why.
Yeah, but I mean the time before that. Because I can't remember if I grabbed my microphone or not.
I think you did. You were a stickler for using your microphone.
Well, I just don't know how the mic on this actually sounds.
We don't have confirmation.
We'll wait until if somebody says anything, we'll grab it.
Yeah.
That's just a confirmation that we're live.
Okay.
So, we're live. That is...
Kalari Gamer Chick?
I am...
Axiom Wolf?
There you go.
I'm answering for both of us now? No, I don't want that responsibility.
I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Oh my goodness.
And you did it. You went right in there.
Stop treating me another parrot.
Completely trainable.
I can't. Well, welcome to our cast, y'all. We had a pretty fun week despite, when you leave the real world out of stuff, it can be a fun week. And what we did was we caught up on some movies and TV shows that everybody was telling us we would love, but being GenXcynics, we held off because you don't tell us what to watch.
Yeah.
And it took a while for us to finish some of these shows, so we had to do a lot of Matrix-style dodging of spoilers. And I know we have a lot of friends who just don't give a rat's ass about giving spoilers, but sometimes it sucks.
The reason my channel has a mature rating on it, folks.
I know, I'm sorry.
The whole reason right there.
The problem with not wanting... the problem with not wanting to watch something as everybody else is watching it, sometimes you're just not mentally ready yet. Like, I knew Invincible was good. Everybody that I follow and some people that I watch streaming have said Invincible was good. And we finally started to enjoy the show this week, but I didn't want to watch it while everybody else was watching it. I wanted to take my time and enjoy it with the one person that I do watch a lot of TV with. And some people don't get it. They want to rush and then talk about it, and then that's it. And then you're stuck waiting until the hopeful season 2. I feel like a lot of people just push and push and push, and I am of the mindset that if I'm not already a fan of a series and it's new, I'm going to take my time before I wade into it. There's still several series that are on our watch list that we haven't gotten through yet that we're going to, but just at our pace.
Right.
I think The Boys is one of the series that we're going to go
that
next.
I've been wanting to check out for a while now because I love the comic.
Yeah.
They did really, really well in the comic, and I am interested to see how that transitioned over to Amazon Prime. I'm a little bit more hopeful now because after watching Invincible, I was like, okay, they handled that really, really well.
Yeah. But
I'm still kind of nervous as a lot of that content you can't really transition because The Boys is a very, very gritty
and graphic. But they did the same with The Walking Dead. The only problem with The Walking Dead is it got away from the main story, changed stuff in ways that didn't make sense, and then went the Hollywood route of a lot of gotchas, which it didn't need.
Yeah.
They have and that's my problem with any adaptation. When you have the source material, the whole argument is we need to veer away from the source material a little bit so people don't expect stuff. And that can work sometimes. The Marvel movies have proven that can work sometimes. The problem being is sometimes you have source material that people love for a reason.
Yeah.
And the Walking Dead comics before the last arc of it pulled you in.
Yeah.
You actually cared about the characters. You wanted to root for them, and you cried when you lost them.
Yeah.
And I feel the TV show had a lot of hits, but a whole lot more misses. And I ended up giving it up way before it ended up ending because it was just too much.
Yeah.
There was just certain changes that
they
didn't
were just
need.
doing a lot of stuff that didn't make sense.
Yeah. Once they took a certain character out, I don't want to give spoilers for the few people who haven't watched it and are like us, want to have it on their to-do list. But you'll see around season 6 is where I dropped off. And if by season 6 you're still like, oh, it's not so bad, you'll love
More
it.
power to you.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy the show.
It was just too much. A lot of stuff that just didn't make sense. And I want to get into that because there's a lot of gatekeeping in fandoms. And I get it. I've done it. He's done it. We've grown out of it because we realize none of it matters. And with, like, even movies. I was saying that earlier about Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. One of the biggest critiques we've seen of it is, why was this movie made? It's not necessary. What was the message in the movie? And like I said in the kitchen, sometimes a fart joke is just a fart joke.
Yeah.
It was just there to be
More
funny.
proud of her I could not have been because she referenced a fart joke.
I think a lot of people just want deeper meaning and stuff that doesn't need deeper meaning. Sometimes you just have a movie that's parody.
Yeah.
Some of my most favorite movies, like my favorite movie of all time comedy-wise is Blazing Saddles. I know for the life of me it couldn't get made today. No way. Nope.
Yep.
Just everybody who would be offended,
Is gonna
rightfully so, would be offended by that movie being made today. There's just no way. But it's still a classic and it's still funny for me.
Right.
I get that you don't want to have the attitudes they were displaying in that movie, but they were making fun of the attitudes they were displaying in that movie, and people don't get that nowadays. It's all about being angry about something and calling stuff out because you think it makes you look better, but it doesn't. If you're actively struggling against bigotry, you realize the fallacy in it. And for me, it's easier for people to see how ridiculous it is when we're all laughing at it. That's why I love Mel Brooks. That's why I love Blazing Saddles. One of my favorite stories to tell about Blazing Saddles was when he bought the movie for me, and he finally sat down and watched it, and his mom walked in and heard some of the language, and she was like, "You bought that for 10?" And he was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "10 likes this movie?" And he was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Yeah, but 10... did you hear the language in this movie?" Because his mom realized that, at that time, were we dating or best friends? I think we were best friends.
Yeah, I think we were best friends. We hadn't actually started dating yet.
Yeah. But her question to him was, isn't she black? Made me laugh because a lot of people don't think that black people would like Blazing Saddles for the obvious heavy use of a certain word. And unlike Quentin Tarantino, Mel Brooks wasn't using that word to say it's a good word or that we should be using it because of historical context. He was showing how ridiculous the people who use that word are. Because everybody who was using that word were ignorant. And he kept hammering that home. The townsfolk that were using that word and active prejudice were all a bunch of dummies. And a lot of people missed that message because they wanted to be angry about that word being used.
I mean, come on. The guy takes himself hostage.
Yes.
How are you not laughing at that?
Exactly. I loved that movie, and I liked The Hitman's Wife Bodyguard.
Yeah.
It wasn't a movie that I would risk COVID for, and I said that. There are a few movies right now that I've been waiting, would I sit in the theater for? Not a lot of winning that battle.
No.
But it's something that renting it at home or renting or just buying it to own digitally, I would recommend it just to get a laugh.
Yeah. Is it a? I think like the price of it off of Vudu was like $20.
Yeah.
It's like, is it a $20 movie? Yeah, kinda. I mean, probably 15, 10 definitely.
Yeah.
But it's like your enjoyment of the movie is going to burden on your expectations of the movie. I did not have any expectations of the movie because I didn't think that series needed another movie.
Exactly.
But I was like, well, they made it. I'm going to watch it. And I enjoyed it. There was funny parts in it. There were throwbacks to the first movie in it. It's fine. It's as it is. What it is a good movie.
Yeah.
What people expect of it and the expectations they had of it, that's what let them down. I was like, if you go in not expecting anything, you just go in, hey, I'm going to watch a funny movie, you're going to have a great time with it.
Yeah, I felt like it was just an extended blooper reel. There was a lot of stuff they probably wanted to do in the first movie that didn't fit that they did in this movie. There was a lot more Selma Hayek, who for me, she made the last movie funny, but there wasn't really a lot of her in it. She came towards the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
So it was funny seeing things from her perspective, and her drive in the movie was kind of understandable. You know, I'm getting up there in age. I'm not pressing to have kids, but a lot of people, because of being on lockdown, decide to have COVID babies. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't want to call your kids COVID babies. I'm just saying, y'all use the pandemic to make little ones. Use it like the boomers from back in World War II that had nothing else better to do because it was wartime. Y'all stayed home, locked indoors, trying to stay safe, and made little ones. I'm trying to avoid that actively, but I'm getting up there in age. So the thought of having a kid, you know, sometimes plays on my brain, not to the extent of Homegirl in this movie,
Right.
but I can understand her motivations, you know?
Right.
Especially once you get to be in your 40s. So I laughed at that. I thought it was a cute nod to the motivations and them being a couple, and it was just silly for the sake of being silly. And every review I've seen was, why is this movie being made? And it's like, there's been worse movies made.
Oh, yeah.
Way more pretentious, stupid movies out there that I think people like for just to say they like it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people just want to be that cool kid that gets the deeper meaning, the Greg Nicoteros of the world. And, you know, I hate
Put a lot of emphasis on the Greg in that statement, I noticed.
No, just I hate the fact that he has the same name as you. But
Not Nicotero. I hate that guy.
I just feel like way too many people want symbolism, and I just wanted to laugh. There's been so much seriousness lately. Social media has been a drag. It's always been a drag, but it's been a lot worse lately because you never know when something is going to cause the next meltdown of friendships and everything else. So I've been taking my breaks from that. TV is touch and go. Every time I like something, it's either canceled or discontinued before you even get to really enjoy it.
Or they get like 6 episodes.
Yeah. Or they make decisions that make you go, I was with you, and then I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's hard for me to enjoy entertainment. So when I go into something with low expectations and I laugh and I actually watch it from beginning to end, that's a good sign for me right now. Because a lot of us have become collectively numb to what people call entertainment nowadays. And I just feel like there are too many people that just want to be the cool kids. And when it comes to fandom, we're all nerds. Just accept it, you know?
Yeah, there needs to be there's a lot of, and I think everybody has this in their group of friends. You have your group of friends, you have that one person that will sit down and say, I went and saw this, you guys don't need to go see this because it's a piece of crap. How about, I didn't enjoy it, but you guys might?
Yeah. And explain without spoilers what you might not have enjoyed.
Yeah, and you can, if it's going to be too hard to do a spoiler-free review of it, you can do stuff like, just wasn't my cup of tea. I was expecting this kind of a movie, and they gave me this kind of a movie. But I could see where other people might enjoy it. So just give your impression of the movie, but don't disregard the movie as a complete piece of crap, unless that movie's Geely, in which case everyone has consented that Geely is just a horrible movie.
Yeah. One of the movies I feel people were very polarized on was Wonder Woman.
I felt the need to pick on Geely, but I just did.
Everybody should pick on Geely. It's a crappy movie. It's a horrible movie. Just, it should never have been made. Ugh. Sign of the Apocalypse is people liking that movie. But, one of the more polarizing movies of recent was Wonder Woman 1984. I couldn't get through all that movie. I seen parts of it. I started it up and I was like, I'll get back to it. I should never feel that way about a superhero movie. Every other superhero movie I've booted up, I've sat through. Whether I forced myself to do it with the original Suicide Squad, which makes me mad because I really wish I didn't have that in my mind at all. Because I want to see the new one.
I want to see the new one.
I really do. But the original one sucked ass. And there were plenty of reasons why it sucked ass, but the main reason why I felt it sucked ass is it doesn't make sense. You're going to take a whole bunch of people that are pretty much criminal rogues and throw them against this otherworldly presence instead of something that made more sense, and not bring in the actual superheroes for it. And I get it. Oh, it's a Suicide Squad. It's supposed to be the metaphor that nobody cares if something happens to them. That's crap.
Yeah.
The villain they got was crap, and Jared Leto does not need to play the Joker. I don't care that they put a nearly 5-hour Dan Snyder cut of whatever Justice League nonsense. He does not need to play the Joker. I am so sick of his weirdo overacting nonsense. And I say this as somebody who loves the Joker as a character. I know I'm a weirdo too. I'm just sick of seeing these weird, pretentious actors be the Joker and not do it justice.
Yeah, and we watched a video on that. Like they compared all the Jokers that were in cinema. So you had Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin, you were just talking about, and then Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah. And they were like, who had the better style, who had the better laugh, who had the better catchphrases. And I was like, if you guys would have thrown in Mark Hamill, because it's animated, but he did voice the Joker, he would have thrown all of them out of the water. Yeah, it would have been Mark Hamill, Heath Ledger, Nicholson, and the other two. I mean, I watched the Joker movie. I went in, I wanted to be open about it, but they tried really hard to make him a likable character. And nothing in the Joker's history makes him a likable character.
Exactly.
That is not that whole movie is a story the Joker will use for you to let your guard down so he can stab you.
Exactly.
That's that whole movie was. It was a Joker. It was a joke.
Yeah. It was like the story he told Homegirl about his father cutting his face because he just wanted to laugh. Yeah. You know it's not true. We know it's not true, but he uses it to throw people off.
Yeah, that whole, the whole Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, and nothing against it. He did a way better job than, you just mentioned again.
Jared Leto.
I can't remember his name.
He's not memorable.
He did a way better job as a Joker in the sense of, I love the reason why he laughs.
Yeah.
He can't control it. He laughs, but that's not the emotion that he's getting. That was a nice little bit of information and plot point to put in.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was just like,
this could be an alternate universe Joker, but he's not the Joker.
And I didn't like the clown makeup.
Yeah.
Joker has never, as far as I've seen, unless he was trying to disguise himself as a clown, he has never dressed himself up in full clown makeup. It's always his white face, red smile, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's what I got used to. And the fact that he had the nose and the little eyes and stuff really it was pulling me out from believing that this was the Joker.
Yeah.
But that's that whole movie was like, it was like a Heath Ledger joke. It was like, hey, you want to know how I got these scars? And he tells you that story.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And my whole thing with him being delusional and stuff, too, and imagining, a relationship that wasn't, I get that. Yeah. I love the mental illness focus because we don't see it portrayed well enough in Hollywood as it is. And if you take those aspects of the Joker movie and highlight them, it's a well-done movie.
Yeah.
What I still have problem with is a lot of these movies taking one character out of a whole series and trying to focus on it without the rest. It's like the Venom series. Venom without Spider-Man doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It's like yin and yang. And too many people are like, oh, it shouldn't matter, you're gatekeeping. No, there's a difference. I'm not saying those movies shouldn't be made. A lot of gatekeepers do that. Oh, it just shouldn't be made. No, I'm saying that make it. I'm just personally not going to enjoy it.
But you got to make it right. I mean, if I'm gonna go through the Joker movie, then I'm gonna go to your Venom comment. The Joker movie, if that wasn't the Joker, let's say you drop Joker right off of that, and that is just that guy's mental health movie,
amazing.
That would have been a phenomenal movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would have given it 5 stars. That would have been a great movie to talk about mental health and what some people may go through. But when you attach the Joker to it, it downgrades it, and that's the whole thing of it. Is like it's
you go
as a Joker movie, I don't buy it, but as a mental health movie, I buy it.
Yeah.
but you can't have it both ways. I mean, yeah, the Joker's crazy, but the Joker's crazy just because the Joker's crazy. I don't think that should never be defined on why he's that way, because then you lose the essence of the character.
Yeah.
That should just be in everybody make up, and I hate that part of it. I hate saying everybody make up their own mind.
But yeah.
But in this case, it applies.
And I'm going to say this, as somebody with sociopathy, it doesn't make sense. I need you to understand, we could smile in your face as we're thinking of ways to kill you. And I'm not saying that to unnerve you, D. I knew he was going to do that. But it's the reality of sociopathy. And I think one of the reasons why I had to stop it.
I'm trying to see if I can get all the way off camera.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Nope, gravity. Oh, that hurts.
One of the things that I liked about the Joker original, and even some of the more darker stuff, was that none of the stuff he does makes sense to anybody but him. And even it doesn't make sense to him, because with sociopathy, you're just in the moment. Mm-hmm. And that is why we get help for what we have, because when you're just in the moment, you can think it doesn't matter, and then the consequences happen. So, when you don't have somebody working with you on the consequences and you don't give a crap, you get people like the Joker, and you get people like Harley Quinn. You know, Harley Quinn, for all intents and purposes, is his complete twin when it comes to mental health, because sociopathy runs deep with her. She had the education, she had the background, she was his psychiatrist, and she realized at that moment, yeah, I can do this. That's how sociopathy works. You feel that apathy for everything else, and you're just in the moment sometimes. And when you try to explain that to people, it's hard. That's why I don't think Hollywood will ever get it right. And when they want to do something like the Joker, they need to really just suspend belief, because he is like that. There is no rhyme or reason to the character. That's why when Heath Ledger brought his magic to it in The Dark Knight, I was like, he really did a good job. And I did not want to believe it. I was one of those gatekeeping assholes who was just like, sorry, I cussed. Was like, that Brokeback Mountain guy? No way. There's no way. Because back then, I didn't even watch Brokeback Mountain. I had a lot of issues back in the day, y'all, that I worked on. But I was very vehement that it wasn't going to be a good movie.
And I laughed at her because I was like, are you kidding? This is going to be a great movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I love Heath Ledger as an actor. Every role he's put himself in, he puts himself into fully. And I was like, if he's going to play the Joker, I was like, I don't know how it's going to come out, but it's not going to be bad. And the whole thing of him, like when he's talking to Dent, and he's like, I'm an agent of chaos. Yes, yep. He got it. He understood the character completely. He was an agent of chaos. Joker will take out his own plan because of something didn't work right the way he wanted it to work out in his head.
Yeah.
Look at the old animated series. Harley had him beat. There was an episode where Harley had Batman upside down in a shark tank, I think with piranhas on it, and Joker saves Batman because Joker's got to be the one to kill Batman.
Yep.
It wasn't his plan, so what he wants is Batman dead, but he wants to be the one to do it. But then again, he doesn't want Batman dead because how boring is his life going to be?
Yep. Yin to his yang.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So, I mean,
I think people just don't understand that dynamic, and I love that we have that source material. And I realize that we are in an age where a lot of the older creators are gone now. So it's up to new people to interpret things. And some people have been doing a good job, but some people are taking it in ways that I'm going to leave it alone. Honestly, a lot of the newer storylines don't appeal to me. Seeing like Spider-Man, where his origin changed yet again, there's no reason for it. Unless you're doing a younger version and retelling the story, I'm not interested anymore. I don't want to see him with somebody else unless it makes sense. I don't want to see him in a issue where he doesn't get to be our age. We grew up with Spider-Man. Peter Parker should be at least our age in some forms, you know? And I'm not saying that to say I don't like what's going on in the MCU. I love Tom Holland. I think, for real, I've said it, he is the best Spider-Man so far for me. I don't see anybody topping him anytime soon. But I do get wary that people are going to get stuck in that formula. Because, yeah, we grew up with that Spider-Man going through his teens, his awkward phase. We went through our teens and awkward phase. Then we got the Spider-Man that finally got married and had a kid. And it was like, good, we can still relate. And they was like, no, we're going to take that away.
Yeah, and it's like... Who did you say that was that? Was it Quesada that said that?
Quesada.
Yeah, that said that superheroes don't deserve a happy ending. I was like, that's what they're fighting for.
Exactly.
If you take away what they're fighting for, then all you're going to end up with is a bunch of Deadpools and villains that...
Jaded.
Yeah. You can't do that. Like, if you don't have an idea, come up with a new idea.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that sounds weird, but... Spider-Man deserves to have that happy ending. But instead of rewriting the character, add some new aspect to his life.
Yeah.
Okay, his kid has his powers because now his powers are genetic. Because that does change based on the source material. Because they were like, we can't have a radioactive Spider-Bite do this. So they've started changing it to where his genetics got altered to give him these abilities.
Yeah.
So that passes on to his kids. So maybe... his daughter, because I think that's mostly what they do now, is some have done a son, but usually the son comes later, and it's usually his first kid's a daughter.
Yeah, it's always always May.
Yeah, have a daughter that he's trying to tutor to, or
mentor.
That's the word I was looking for. That he's having difficulty doing it because, yeah, he went through it. But how do you tell someone that, it's like any teen. It's like, how do you get them to understand, yeah, we went through the same stuff. We understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
But this person had to grow up with those powers where you got those powers at your teen level. So you can go any which way you want to go. You just got to pick a path and make sure it makes sense.
And I will say this, because a lot of movies have done it and a lot of comic books have done it. And I get that you have a hard time explaining family ties or relationships. If you're going to give a non-black character a black family member or a black child, especially looking at you, Jurassic Park and Jeff Goldblum, make that crap make sense. Don't just throw a black child in it just to have a comedic relief. Don't just give the Spider family a black family member and not explain their origins, because that to me just... it's like blatant it feels like you're making fun of my existence when you do that. Yeah, and I've noticed that ham-fisted nonsense a lot more lately.
Yeah, it wasn't as noticeable as it was when they did the hey Brian, thank you
Brian.
For the sub. Hey, look, I actually did the thing this time.
Nice.
I'm stalking you. Brian, you're always welcome to stalk me. You know that. If you weren't stalking me, then I'd be stalking you, but somewhere, someone's being stalked.
Yeah, crazy.
But the one they did it the worst in was with the Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
That there was no reason that if you're gonna have Johnny, and I like Michael B. Jordan.
Yep.
I think he's another great actor. I watched him on his even youngest roles, which I think one of the first ones was in Burn Notice, where he played a teen, and right from there, right up to Black Panther. He's done an amazing job in any role he's taken.
Yep.
But if he's going to be black, Sue should have been black. And Sue was the only person that wasn't black in that family from what I saw. I didn't watch the movie. So, yeah, I'm doing a little bit of gatekeeping here, even though...
it was a terrible
we said
movie.
that you shouldn't. But no one liked that movie. Like, there was enough people out there I feel comfortable because nobody came out there and said, hey, you know what, that was a really good movie. No. Everybody hated the premise of the movie, and then they hated the premise of what they did to Doctor Doom, which I have no idea what they did to Doctor Doom. All I heard was, I can't believe what they did to Doctor Doom. You have to follow the source material a little bit. You can take liberties with it, but you have to take liberties that make sense.
And I'm team keep it simple, stupid. Team Kiss for life. Because when you have a team like the Fantastic Four, all you have to do is tell their origin story. Mm-hmm. It's exciting enough because these were young kids with the scientific smarts to go into space for research that got hit by cosmic rays and developed powers. And you could develop it where individually they're figuring out this new physiology in their bodies and they decide, okay, let's come together and be superheroes and make it about that, just like the comic books. Mm-hmm. There is nothing wrong with keeping it simplistic. But everybody just wants, they want the same magic of the Avengers and the original X-Men movies without understanding the nuance. The reason why X-Men worked was because they're talking that social construct of being hated for existing and who you are. Avengers work because there's a lot of these big ego characters that were developed separately, having to learn how to work together. You're not going to bring that same formula into every superhero movie and get that. That's what DC had to learn the hard way. That's why their movies haven't done as well, and they have good movies. Shazam is one of my favorite of the DC Universe movies right now, and that's because it didn't try to model itself after every other movie.
And they stayed close to the source material.
Yeah.
Young boy, he's an orphan, right?
Yeah.
Billy? Yeah. Young boy orphan gets adopted, ends up becoming the replacement for a wizard.
Yeah.
So are just complaining about Super Daddy. No, we're actually giving some reviews, but we're taking a long way about it.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about the good stuff after this.
We started with Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which led us into comic movies, which got us started on a comic rant about terrible things that people have done.
We meander.
we don't get there fast, but we do get there.
Yeah.
But you want to go do Loki and then save Invincible for last?
Yeah, because
we're in the comic realm, so
it'll fit. The thing is,
I was going to log a complaint. Go ahead, Brian. Log a complaint. Tell us how you feel. Tell us how you really feel, Brian.
Yeah. Because
as we slowly lean closer to the camera, and we look at you with accusing eyes that say we're going to judge your opinion.
Oh, he wants us to go on a full rant.
Teen Titans OG versus the Teen Titans Go. Discuss. That's just giving us another topic, Brian. That wasn't.
It's like when Kendall has me talk about Dragonite.
Yeah, but to be fair, and we've referenced this before in a previous show, Teen Titans, phenomenal show, beginning to end. They didn't miss a single beat. The only thing that I think everybody wanted was them to
wrap it up in season 4 so that they could resolve the Terra Beast Boy thing.
Wrap it up, but also elaborate a little bit more in the universe, because they didn't interact with anybody.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, Teen Titans needed to run into the Justice League. Yeah. Because they're doing things on such a global scale. The Justice League would have gotten involved in a few of those cases.
Yeah.
Like the second Deathstroke got involved, or Slade, because I didn't think they
or even Trigon.
Yeah, they would have put somebody in to keep an eye on it.
Especially with Batman.
And the Teen Titans Go thing, I liked it for a little bit. But the problem is it's too nonsensical.
It's mind-numbingly stupid.
There's no canon anywhere in there. Every week you come back, it's like an episode of Family Guy.
Yeah.
And it's like...
We're adults. We can watch more adult humor-based nonsensical stuff and say... Even my kid. And my kid likes really silly stuff. I've seen his YouTube history. He can't stand Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, and it's like you have the same voice actors.
Yeah.
And they even did that crossover movie where they do Teen Titans from the multiverse.
Yeah.
And that was even good, because that had the original ones on there. No, you're not allowed to like it. I said I used to, Brian. I don't like it anymore, because at first...
We thought it was going to be a one-off.
The little funniness of it wasn't bad, but they still had some seriousness to it. It didn't completely go the way of, okay, now next week everything's back to normal. If they'd have kept the seriousness of it and just had it be a little bit more comedic for everything, it wouldn't have been bad. But they gave you something, and I think this is why the show continued on past its first season. Everybody wanted more Teen Titans, and they gave us that, which was kind of like a nicotine patch. So we were like, okay, we'll accept this, and then it grew to this monstrous proportion of what it is.
Yeah.
And it needs to stop. And I hate to say that, because I want those voice actors to voice those characters. I don't want to see them come back with another Teen Titans show and not use those same characters, because those are the people I like.
But the problem is, it's now branched off to other shows that we grew up with and love, and I'm not okay with that. I don't want to see Teen Titans version of Thundercats, which they did, or the Powerpuff Girls, which they did. And it feels like they found the formula that makes them a ton of money, and they're using it for IP that we grew up with, that we loved for what it was, and they need to stray away from that because it's not entertaining. And they don't give enough support to shows that actually do have substance. One of the ones that I rallied for was Steven Universe. I still feel like Cartoon Network did them and Adventure Time dirty with not only scheduling but lack of advertisement. And I say this to somebody who used to do promotions. When you fail to put your best out there, or you just don't respect them like they did with Venture Brothers, it shows. And now all of these shows are being picked up by places like HBO and Cinemax and Netflix, and they're finding a new home. And then Netflix does it too, like Tuca and Birdie. I didn't know the show really existed before it got canceled. They picked it up on Cartoon Network. We watch it after Rick and Morty, and I've been enjoying it for what it is. It's just, female commentary basically. But these shows don't get a fair shake, and they don't get enough backing from these networks because they can't sell product from it. And they don't even do that well. Japan knows how to do a toy cartoon tie-in better than any country I've seen so far. They remind me of our childhood in the 80s, where cartoons were directly tied into toys. And we get that now as adults, but that nostalgia you feel when you watch a show and then there's a corresponding figure or toy to it, that country has never let that go, and that's why they're thriving in that market. Mm-hmm. And we like to act like we're above it and it's too childish, but we love it.
Yeah, Brian, it's just like Transformers.
Yeah.
They still have, they have the series continued over there, and they got a huge set of toy line. They had like another 3 or 4 seasons of it.
Even their commercials and their restaurants still have tie-ins to shows.
Right.
I am more I've sat on YouTube and watched a ton of Japanese commercials, because they're commercials for video games, they're commercials for soft drinks, the commercials for anime and manga are just so well done, and it makes you want to watch or buy these things. We could learn a lot from the way they handle that, instead of acting like things are too childish or too beyond us. But in that sense also, they need to stop thinking dumbing stuff down as entertainment as well. There's got to be that balance. Yeah. Cartoons can be fun. They don't always have to make a lot of sense, but when it's the same garbage humor and nothing matters because next week they're going to be fine, that gets boring after a while.
And it's like, cartoons, when we were kids, they actually taught us lessons. Yeah. Like, it may not have been the best way to teach a kid a lesson, but it's like, you had that, and now they're trying to pull away from it because it's like, well, we don't want to tackle anything too heavy. I was like, I remember watching cartoons where they tackled death,
molestation, kidnapping, all that stuff.
They had shows that addressed those issues, but they found a good way to do it so that people were aware that was a problem. And I'm worried that by not doing that now, kids that are growing up watching these shows aren't getting at least that little bit of, hey, you need to be aware of these things, and they're completely unprepared for it.
And then,
I don't know if you've been around the general populace lately. I think things might need to be dumbed down more.
I just miss
We've stayed away from people.
Yeah, we've been avoiding other human beings as much as possible. I miss cartoons that did things like incorporate music. One of the things we love about watching old Looney Tunes is hearing like classical pieces that they put into the episode and in a way that made sense. And it's like you're learning about classical music. Mm-hmm. And sadly, we're the kind of species that we learn better when we're not thinking we're learning. And a lot of cartoons and a lot of shows aren't utilizing those methods anymore. It works. That's why there are Gen X people like us that we can see the entertainment value in classic music.
I was actually going to reference Captain Planet, Brian. That's funny.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say they had that episode on there where Linka's cousin got her addicted to drugs, and I was like, that was a heavy episode for me because I was just like, we're dealing with drugs now. I thought we were trying to save the planet.
Yeah.
And but that's a good example of it. It's like there's things that we grew up watching that would approach a topic. Now they won't approach the topic anymore. They don't want to do that because it could hurt their ratings.
And if they do, it's definitely only geared towards adult or more adult shows. Like Loki. Loki, for me, dealt with a lot more themes than a lot of people probably picked up. Identity. Who are you? Self-doubt. Self-worth.
Why do you do the things you do?
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the first episode, he asked him, why do you do this? Do you like hurting people? And he's like, you watch them move the character through a series of stuff, and he's like, no, I don't like hurting people.
Yeah.
He found something out about himself that even he didn't really want to admit.
Yeah.
But it cuts the character to his core so that he can be a better person for it.
Yeah.
And that was the great thing. The only thing that I didn't like about Loki was that it was only 6 episodes.
Yep.
However, that comes with an addendum on it. I prefer a short series to a extended series as long as it's well written.
Yeah. And they're coming back.
And those 6 episodes were extremely well written.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is when I go to pick up a series and it's only like 13 episodes long, my price for 13 episodes is $20. So when like Bleach used to try to charge me $30 for 13 episodes, I didn't like that price thing. I waited until the price dropped. So Loki, I would actually violate that policy on that. I would pay $20 for the first season of Loki.
Yeah.
Because it was so well done.
It really was. And especially towards the end, without giving too many spoilers for people like us who didn't want to just rush and watch it and talk with everybody. We're not doing this water cooler thing. We wanted to take our time and enjoy it.
Yeah.
One of the things I like is that you got to see different aspects of his personality, but the core thing was the same. Everybody is out for themselves, and I don't think that's going to change about Loki, and I like that. They're not saying that he feels he's wrong in being self-centered and being arrogant. He's just starting to see that it does have consequences, and he's hurt by those consequences. He doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't want to constantly be known as the person who's going to stab you in the back, even though he said he stabbed people in the back over 50 times.
Yeah.
You know, he's proud of his backstabbing, but he's starting to realize that if he keeps going that route, in the end, it just leads to the same thing over and over.
And that was the nice thing about it, is you actually got to experience and you got to see character growth.
Yeah.
You got to see almost the same but different character growth that you saw Loki do in the next couple of movies.
Yeah.
But you got to see it compact down and to be like, hey, if he is exposed to this situation, to the stimuli, if he is shown this is what you're doing, this is how it hurts people that are near you, and this is how it actually ends up hurting you, he does try to change himself.
Yeah.
And that is nice because you don't get to see that in every show. You get to see, okay, well, that didn't work for me this time, but maybe next time it'll work, and they keep the same formula going.
Yep.
You know, so we said we're really excited to see what season 2 is going to have, and I love the fact that it's Tom Hiddleston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that Tom Hiddleston is he loves playing the role.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you
showed me that video yesterday with him interviewing that little girl, asking her, who do you think's a better hero? She's like, Thor, because he's a big hammer, he can knock people down, and he pushes her.
Yeah,
and
he just reaches over and turns her out of her chair, and he goes like, there, I just did that with my hand, I didn't need a hammer. It was funny, because it was like, I think he was visiting like it was a bunch of kids. I don't know if it was a children's hospital. I hate to think he was pushing someone in a children's hospital.
I don't think he would.
But I think it was just like maybe a school or something that he was just like, I don't know where he was at, but it was just funny that he would actually, like, he stayed in character.
Yeah.
Like, the kids came to see Loki, so they got to see Loki.
Exactly.
You know.
And there are so many actors that when you see them and when they act, you feel they're bringing the part. Tom Hiddleston is just... It's going to be hard to replace him as Loki, but they had a few good Lokis in this series. Yeah. They really did.
Yeah, they did a really good job on bringing out all the different variants of Loki and giving them. I love the old
Loki,
90s Loki, I guess you could say. I love the outfit because it was like what you would see in the 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it was really cool seeing that actor in that role, and I was just like, I hope I get more of that. Exactly.
I honestly love the way Disney is working with the MCU. I know they sanitize the MCU, and that's one of a lot of critics' biggest complaints about all the Marvel action movies. They're too sanitized and not realistic. Well, there are shows for those of you who want realism in your superheroism. What Marvel is trying to do is make superheroism family friendly, because we want more movies that I can sit with everybody. I can sit and watch a Marvel movie with my kid and not have to explain things. We all sat and watched Invincible, and I watched kiddo's eyes, even at 16, get wide at some of the scenes we saw, and I was like, oh Lord. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to have to discuss things with him later on. And I loved Invincible. I'm a preface it like that. That was it was well done.
Yeah,
but it is brutal.
Don't worry about too many spoilers with that, because that's been out for a while.
It's been out for anybody who's watching us watched Invincible.
Yeah. I didn't read the comics, and I kind of wish I had now.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to have seen how closely they stayed to the source material.
Yeah.
But whatever they did it perfectly.
Yeah.
I love what's his face is Omni-Man. I can't think of the name of the actor, but he played J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies.
His name just popped in my head briefly, and I forgot it, but I see him. He did the Farmers commercial.
Yeah, he does Farmers commercials, and he's the yellow M&M and those M&Ms.
Yeah, he was in Oz. I can see his face, but I'm blanking on his name. It's something K something. I know. We'll get it.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually with it. He does a phenomenal job.
Simmons.
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, J.K. Simmons.
He's one of those actors that, like anything he puts himself in, he does whatever the role is, that's what he becomes.
Yep.
And I loved him as Omni-Man. Everybody in the show was believable.
Yeah.
And you could see the parallels to like which character was playing what other character, like if it was a Marvel or if it was DC. Like the one guy that was playing like the head of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you got the reference from him.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't just that he was trying to hurt people. He wasn't. He was just trying to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, Walter Goggins is a good actor.
Yeah.
I've seen him play a lot of different versions.
And then her favorite, Clancy Brown, as the little demon detective guy. I want more of him in the show, honestly. I think that they really cut it short in that first season. I'm hoping he's not gone forever from the show.
Me too.
Because I think that would be really cool to see him have another part in there. But it's got to make sense. You can't just throw him in and be like, oh, he's back just because people wanted him back. You know, it has to make sense how he comes back or why he would come back.
Exactly.
But if you haven't seen it, by all means, phenomenal series.
I think I enjoyed about it is what a lot of people were looking for in the Marvel movies, that reality about superheroism. You're gonna get hurt. I can't stand seeing somebody fly into a building and just be automatically okay, and Hollywood does that a lot, and it gives off that illusion that all superheroes have invincibility, and that's not true. They get beat up, they bleed. But the other reality, which a lot of people bring up, which I don't think every movie can show because it would be a horror show, is how many people actually die trying to be helped by superheroes, because they're fighting alien invasions and natural disasters, and people do die from those things. And I know that there's a balance that a lot of movies want to try to tread so that they don't get certain ratings. And what I like about Invincible is it's for people who want that brutal reality, but it's definitely not for kids. You shouldn't be younger than, I'd say, at least 14 and watch this series, because there's a lot of brutality in it. And it's not, I don't even think the sexual stuff was that big of a deal. There's a lot of innuendo and a lot of
There's a lot of stuff that, like, back in the 80s they threw it in the cartoon, but it was just the joke that as an adult you go back and you watch it and you're like,
I see
you
what
guys
they're
snuck that
talking
one past me,
about.
but then as you watch it now you get the joke that they were trying to reference.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that, but not
as in your face.
Yeah, it wasn't as in your face, and it wasn't as prevalent. They didn't go out of their way to make the joke, but if they saw an opportunity for it, they put it in.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Wait. Invincible, like, you see blatant things, like when Homeboy cheated on the girl with the mind powers. Yeah, when you see him, basically with 3 copies of that multiple girl, it's like, they were pretty in your face with what was going on. You couldn't have that in mainstream entertainment and still have it be where every family gets it. Marvel movies have a lot of adult jokes. I don't know where people are coming across thinking there's not adult humor. They just have to be a bit more nuanced because they know families of all ages are going to watch these movies. What Invincible does is they say, this isn't for kids. This is superheroes for adults. This is what Kirkman has always done with his writing. This is one of the reasons why I've respected him as a writer, even if he falls off towards the end. And I'm saying that as somebody who gave you 10 years for Walking Dead, and that comic disappointed me. Getting in mama mode about that because it pisses me off the way he ended that story. But in that vein still, I feel like I like what he does with his storylines because he's not writing superheroes and zombie stuff for everybody to enjoy. These stories are visceral and they come with a little bit of dose of, if this was real, this is what would happen. I like stories like that because it doesn't make us feel like we're too dumb to get that sometimes you don't win.
Yeah. Sometimes
you get hurt. People are gonna die in these invasions.
Yeah.
One of the things that I put in that fight with Omni-Man versus Invincible versus the attack on New York, because that attack on New York in the original Avengers was hard for me to see the first time because my brain was going to, my city has been attacked. It was attacked on September 11th. Lost people in that attack. So it kind of gets hard seeing Hollywood treat that as a center of attack and not, have those memories flash back. But they didn't show enough reality of that. When you have an alien Leviathan enter New York and show destruction, but there is no real debris, no real bodies. You see how Marvel sanitizes it.
Right.
Invincible did not sanitize
Yeah, because like in Marvel, in the Avengers, when they do that movie, you see people hurt. You see the threat of people being killed, but you never actually see somebody getting killed.
Yeah.
And spoilers, if you have not seen Invincible yet and you don't want to know what's going on, we are going to talk about the end of it here in a second. So just be prepared for it if you don't want anything spoiled and you actually want to go watch it.
Yeah. This is the time to go.
Because we're going to spoil it for you.
Because, like, even in to harp on Avengers again, when the attack happened, you could try to make the argument that they evacuated all of those buildings in Manhattan all of a sudden and they had a coordinated effort. I don't think so.
No.
New Yorkers are stubborn, I know, because I am one. There would have been a lot more casualties. And they play upon it in the later movies talking about casualties in New York. But when you don't see it, there's a disconnect.
Right.
In Invincible, you see the casualties.
Yeah.
They don't shy from it.
And the weird thing is Invincible did the right level of exposure for that, where DC did too much.
Yeah.
In the Man of Steel movie, when he's fighting Zod and they're just going through Metropolis and they're bringing down buildings and they basically destroy the city with their fight, you didn't get to see the visceral reaction of everything that was going on. Those buildings were coming down, were killing probably hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
In Invincible, you get to see those hundreds of thousands of people die. You may not see them all at once, but you do see a body dies here, somebody gets hit with a brick there, someone gets hit with a car. Blood splatter, people's heads getting ripped off. They show you that to show you, like, this is going on, but it's also happening here, but it's also happening over here where you can't see it.
Yep. It's the reality of it.
And, while it's gory and it's one of those things, like, they found a good balance with it. We're going to show that is going on here, so that over here where this building is collapsing, people are probably dying there too.
Yeah.
There's
a serious weight to it.
Yeah.
That I feel like I get that argument for other movies, but I understand why other movies don't do it, because it's hard. Watching that with both Greg and Kiddo, it was like, wow. You don't normally think about that. The people are going to die if something like that happens. When aliens invade, people getting vaporized is a reality of the situation that a lot of movies like to shy away from. Even in big budget movies, it's rare to see people suffer and hurt because people don't want to see that. They want to suspend that disbelief, and that magical thinking has translated into real life. And a lot of people do stupid things because they think, well, there's no consequence. I watched the movie and it didn't happen in a movie.
And the thing I liked about Omni-Man is I get that he's kind of supposed to be like their version of Superman to an extent.
Yeah.
Like they changed, his powers come from just his alien body.
And his genetics.
They have those powers on their home planet. They have those powers on other planets, which I liked. I liked the fact that it wasn't, okay, you have to be under these conditions.
Yeah.
But I also liked that when he attacked their Justice League, which was, what was it, Guardians of the Globe?
Yeah, Guardians of the Globe.
When he attacked their Justice League, he went for the person that was the major threat first.
Yep.
They had somebody called the Immortal on there, and he is immortal. He cannot be killed. The only way you kill him is to take his head off. And if you watch the show, the first place he was aiming for is he was aiming a punch to destroy his head. Because he knew, this guy is a threat to me. This guy can fly. He's super strong. He could potentially pose a problem. And then you got to see that even the guy that technically wasn't his first target, their version of Flash, which I can't remember what, Crimson Streak or
I think it was something
that.
like that. He was the main.
He caused damage to him. He started punching him in the chest, and you could actually see the bruises just because he was punching him at a hyper speed.
And strategically, had they truly worked together and utilized Homeboy's speed, they could have beat Omni-Man.
Yeah.
That, I like that.
Yeah. The fact that fight,
once he took the speedster out, that was it. They fell apart.
Yeah, you knew where it was going to go, but that speedster should never have moved into attack. That speedster should have been, I'm going to keep everybody from taking damage.
Yep.
He should have been moving people out and away, out and away, out and away, and then forcing Omni-Man to try to take him out. And while he's focused on the evasion part of it, everybody else is doing heavy damage to him because they got really good hits in on him. He was out for what, like a week in the show?
Yeah.
Or a month?
He was out for a couple of weeks at least.
So he took a lot of damage from what hits they could get in, but he went in for an attack and he never should have done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that they actually showed that, while he is Superman-ish, he's not like Superman has become where he's unbeatable unless you have
rock.
A secret key or something that gets around his defenses. Like he's just super strong, but if you do enough damage to him, he's going to feel it.
Yeah.
And then the lesson at the end where he's trying to teach his kid that these people don't matter because that's how he was raised. He was raised on his home planet to view every other species as lesser.
Yep.
He has only had 17 years of dealing with people and raising his kid to get that humanity put inside of him that he was struggling with, and you can see him struggling with it in the show, but it's always replaced by
this is how it always is.
That doesn't matter. This is how it's always been. This is how it's always got to be. It made the argument at the end that his kid made believable.
Yeah.
It made it be like, okay, somebody that was raised that way would be conflicted about, okay, I care for my family. I care more for them than what I should. Why is this so much a harder deal for me when they don't matter? Because they do matter.
Yeah. It speaks parallels, and, not to get too heavy because we like to be lighthearted, but a lot of people are going through this nowadays because, especially us Gen Xers, we were raised in weird times. We probably had, Depression-era grandparents, kind of like baby boomer to counterculture parents, depending on where you were raised. So we got a lot of ideals thrown at us that aren't acceptable today. And we're unlearning a lot of stuff that we learned, a lot of things that we used to think were the norm that are no longer the norm. And it can be a painful process because a lot of people want to hang on to traditions that are toxic, but they're traditions that give them comfort, even if it's rooted in hurting others. And the whole thing with Omni-Man is he reminds me of a lot of people I know that just don't want to change because they found comfort in their identity. Their identity is what makes them what they are. And the way he hurt his wife by, like, she was just something to use.
Yeah, a pet.
Yeah, basically a pet. It really resonated with me that there are a lot of people that do that. You are useful to them, and once you're no longer useful to them, that's it. I've done that in life. I don't say that proudly, but I realize that for self-preservation, especially, and as a safety mechanism, I have utilized people, and when they were no longer of use to me, I cut them off. I'm working hard to stop doing that, but I know that that is an aspect of my personality. You stop it. That I'm not proud of, and to see it so viscerally done in Omni-Man and possibly in the Virtual Knights, because they've dropped the seeds in that in season 2 we're going to see more of these assholes. It is visceral how selfish people can be.
Yeah.
Whether they're human or another species, when they have that believing that power comes in subjugating others. I say a lot of that attitude is just mirroring humanism. If we had superpowers, I think we'd be even worse in our attitude sometimes, but I don't know because we don't all act the same way. But there is that underlying current of thinking that superiority matters and that a life is lesser because it doesn't have a certain amount of this or that, and we need to get away from that if we're ever going to be a better species. And I feel like shows like Invincible really hone in on that message, whether that's what they were going for or not.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I'm going to actually look up and see if I can find a trade paper copy of the comic, or maybe even just a digital copy of the comic to read, just to see how the show translated from the comic to the series.
Yeah, because I mean, just the storyline with that guy alone that ends up taking over and becoming the gangster, the godfather of the city, you know, his story resonated with me because as a little girl, my dad did some non-questionable things, owing people money that he probably got into himself, and he got tangled in with people like that. So I understood the mindset, but having it nuanced that he wasn't truly a bad guy. He wants to do right by the city, but he realizes that city's pretty shitty, and he's gonna have to be a shitty person to bring in those things. And I don't think people understand that mindset if they haven't lived that life. And I love that it was done in a way that wasn't pandering, that was more humanizing to a lot of people's existence, because a lot of people see black skin and think, oh, they're a thug. They understand thug life. There are more. I know more black people who lived in the suburbs all their life than actual thugs. And to glorify that life without understanding why that struggle is real irks me. And having a cartoon do it better than some of these TV shows out there, man, I just don't know. Honestly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, you would think people that have the ability to, you know, Invincible's going to reach an audience of geeks, nerds, and people that are mildly interested in that stuff. And of course, there's going to be some people that are just on, what's this Invincible thing on Amazon Prime? Oh, it's a cartoon. Let's see what that's about. But you have shows that are set for that format, that are like, okay, this is the topic we're going to talk about, and they choose not to broach the subject because they don't want to get too controversial. I was like, the controversy is always going to be there. You have the ability to prepare for it and handle it right, but you choose to ignore it because you don't want to offend anybody. And I saw a video on, I think it was TikTok, that this guy got on there and he was just like, people wonder, like, oh, I might offend somebody. He goes, so what? You're an adult. You're not a kid. You learned that as a kid. If you get offended, you just get over it. But it's like, oh, that offended me. get over it.
And on the flip side of that, you use it to make a conversation.
Yeah.
If you say something like, I've said stuff to offend people. I tell stories and I try to make people laugh when I can, but I'm a writer. So I know that I'm not always going to be everybody's cup of tea. If what I have said has hurt somebody and they can say to me why it hurt them and I understand it, that is better than me just acting like what I said, they need to get over it too.
Yeah.
But if I can explain my position, they understand that I wasn't coming from a place of mocking you or mocking a situation. I was just making a commentary. We need to be able to have these conversations as adults, and we're not doing that. We're getting signals crossed, and people just want to be upset and fight with each other instead of talking to each other. We need to have these conversations, and it's hard to have these conversations because when somebody's upset about stuff, their first reaction is to shut it down, say, you hurt me, that's it, I don't want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. Life is not simple. And everybody thinks that you can wrap things up in a neat package because we've had nothing but sanitized versions of violence, sanitized versions of mental health, sanitized versions of who we are. We've got to start being more real. And we've got to understand that things are bigger than we know. And we don't know everything. Yeah. And I think if we start moving towards that and we start seeing more people who write that and they appreciating it, it'll get better.
Yeah. Well, that you gotta remember, words do hurt, but if you're gonna be completely shut down by words,
you're not gonna have a good life.
How she always accuses me of being the more diplomatic of us, and
you are, because I'm very blunt.
When somebody comes into my chat on on a game day when I'm streaming and stuff like that, I give everybody the benefit of a doubt until you prove without a benefit of a doubt that you are an asshole and you need to be banned.
I've stopped my stream to yell at people.
She has stopped her stream to educate people. And she did it, not last week, but the week before, and I thought it was great, because I was sitting there with my finger over the ban button, but I was like, unless she looks like she's about to lose her cool, I'm not going to do anything, because she's handling the situation. Where, I will give you the benefit of a doubt to a point, but I will also go out of my way to offend you if I think that's going to be funny.
Yeah.
Now, most people that know me know that I would never offend somebody specifically just to offend them, to cause them pain. I will do it to try to get you to laugh at the thing that you're doing. There's been many times where she's tried to not say something, and I've gone right, just like a brick, right through the wall. Kool-Aid Man, I just, boom, that's what you were trying to avoid saying, right?
Yep.
And she laughs at it because she gets it.
Yeah.
I was like, you're trying to avoid a situation. Why? Because it might make somebody uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Who's going to be made uncomfortable by this if they really know you?
But I'd like to be mindful, but there's a difference. Like yesterday, with that weirdo way, show your feet.
Yeah.
Instant zap. I don't need people being disrespectful, and I don't need followers that bad. I legit don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more prone to have my mods zap somebody that they see gets on their nerves, because if they get on y'all's nerves, I know they're going to get on my nerves.
Yeah. And that was just a weird guy. He didn't say anything in the chat beforehand.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of people that have been in her Bonnet Chronicles that I see every week. They're in there, and they'll start up a little bit, but then they'll get a sense of the thing, okay, this is not the time or the room to do these comments in.
Yeah.
But every so often you still get one or two that come in and they'll comment on the bonnet, or they'll...
Like the language.
What are we talking about here? Oh, and please don't use harsh language. I'm 24 and I get offended by curse words. It's like...
You came to the wrong chat for that.
I guarantee if I followed you around for a weekend, I'm going to hear you use more curse words than what she uses in an hour.
Exactly.
And the guy just popped into the... And I'm assuming it's a guy. I'm just going to say there's no way a chick walked in and said, let me see the bottom of your feet. But it's like... That popped up, and I instant banned him. That did not get the timeout that I normally give people, because that was just a weird... Why would you pop into someone's stream like that and just be weird?
Yeah.
Work up to that level of weird.
Yeah, and even then, you're probably going to get banned. Don't bring that weird
Yeah,
to me.
I'm just saying, it's like, you don't just pop it, I don't go on Twitch and, hey, I'm going to choose this random room and I'm going to be as creepy as possible. No. You have to work up to that level of creepy. It was that's why people laugh at me when I do levels of creepy stuff. than not. And I'm pretty sure Brian will attest to this. When he met me, I was really nice, and we just talked on topic and stuff. And I slowly started getting creepier.
You do got that cute, creepy, like, I don't know how you do it. It's just your personality.
Here's a good example of it. When we started dating, I said something to her that most people would not say to their girlfriend. Weren't we in the car?
Yeah.
We were in the car, and what did you say that prompted it?
I think it was something either about leaving or having depressive thoughts.
There was something she said, and I think it was something to the effect of, well, if I was trying to leave you, I wouldn't do that, or wouldn't cheat on me or something. It was some weird comment, and I looked at her, serious face as I could muster, because the idea popped into my head, and sometimes my filter doesn't catch everything. And I just looked at it, I was like, no, I just smother you with a pillow in your sleep.
And the serene face he made.
The serenity, the calmness of it, I think it was the calmness of it. She started laughing because she knew I was just messing with her.
Yeah.
But I didn't start out that way. Like when we first met,
there's no way
I didn't jump to, well, I'll just take you out in the middle of the forest with my van. No. She got to know me. She got to know my sense of humor, so she knew when I'm joking, when I'm serious.
Also, he was mindful of what I went through in my previous relationship, too, which, that's another thing about making certain jokes and people getting offended by it. When you know...
I say that. We have pillows, right?
When you know your partner's history, though, and you know that y'all are at that level of comfort where you can make those jokes and realize that they're not doing it to mock what you went through, but understand that, we are at that level. That's a good thing.
Yes, and there are some jokes that you may think, okay, this would be funny. No. Sometimes you don't do that joke. There are things that I will never, ever joke about because there's no good way to joke about them.
Exactly.
And people need to be mindful of that. If you have to think about it for more than a couple of seconds, like, hey, is this going to be funny or is this going to be offensive? Odds are it's going to be offensive. If you have to ask yourself the question, am I the asshole? Yes, you are the asshole.
And if you get your jollies hurting people, eventually that's going to come back on you. Yeah. So what we like to do is, I'll make people laugh. I like bite and humor. Especially when somebody happens to be dumb and wanders around me, I will insult the heck out of a person.
This is just going to disappear.
Okay. That's just the way it is. But I don't go out of my way to do it anymore because it does come back on you. And I think we all need to learn that balance, But
yeah, and it's a thing of, we like to joke around a lot. I would never take my sense of humor into a situation with new people.
Yeah.
I would take it into a situation where people know me. Okay, this is comfortable. You have to know your audience when you're going to do stuff.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, not everybody does that. A lot of people get out there and they'll say, well, I'm going to say this. And then they're surprised when people get offended by it. It's like, you were a jerk.
And it's not cancel culture, y'all. It's the consequences of your actions. If I say something to hurt somebody, whether I mean to or not, they still get hurt by it. And I gotta accept that. And if people want to end relationships or friendships with me by it, that's their right to.
Yeah.
They don't owe me forgiveness. And I realize that as I get older. I can't expect people to forgive me for stuff I did to them. All I can do is work to make sure that I don't repeat that with future relationships. And I think as you learn and you grow, instead of dwelling on a mistake as if it's everybody's job to absolve you, show and prove that you're a better person. Just be a better person whether people are watching or not. That gets
And if you make a mistake, apologize.
Yeah.
Just be
but don't
just be sincere about it. Just don't expect, if you offend somebody by what you say and they say, well, I don't want any more to do with you, you have to respect that because you were a jerk. You had an opportunity to keep a friend, but you decided to do something stupid.
Yeah.
You have to accept the fact that if you want them to accept your apology, you have to accept the fact that they also may choose not to have anything to do with you.
Exactly.
I was like, I've had to apologize more than once on a joke that I thought was funny that turned out not to be funny. I was like, it wasn't my intent to hurt anybody, but if I did,
And that's just how it is. But we're going to be watching more stuff, y'all. It is after 7. Hopefully our friend will be
Well, I'm
doing
thinking we'll
his
just go ahead,
stream.
'cause we got to get dinner and if we could read
Yeah.
Cookie.
Okay. Is Kilky live?
Yeah.
Yay.
I got to get the right window open here.
Okay.
And we also will continue to do the roundabout way of talking about stuff too, so I don't think that that's just going to be this one time. No.
No, that's how we do things here.
We constantly take the long way around. We'll end up talking. We meant to talk about Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, Invincible, and Loki, and we talked about pretty much any comic thing that popped into our heads. So
Yep.
get used to that because you will see more of that.
Exactly.
Oh look, I got a 1-minute ad break I can run.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, rate channel.
And thank you all, especially Brian, for constantly watching and supporting us. We
Yes, Brian,
are
thank you for
enjoying
your
this.
thank you for your Prime sub once again, sir.
Yep. And this will be uploaded to YouTube because I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, we missed it," and then y'all catch us on YouTube. Views have been really upping our views on there too, so
Yep.
thank you for that.
Yep, and then Cat will be live
Next-
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, just Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah,
stuff.
just playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then I will be live again on Monday for Mario Maker.
Hopefully the noise issue that I found it and I isolated it. I don't know. Y'all are gonna have to tell me.
Yeah, we've been having weird audio issues with her stream for some reason. Not every stream, just certain
No,
ones.
just the
And
gaming.
I've been having weird disconnect issues with mine, which I'm hoping will be solved here shortly, but
Yeah.
who knows. Take care, everybody. Remember, if you go out, wear your mask. That COVID variant is still being a pain, and I guess we have more of it out there. So please protect yourselves. Wear your mask, even if you're vaccinated.
Yeah.
Just try to keep yourself safe so that people don't have to have that phone call that we all don't want.
Exactly.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you later.
Yep. Ooh, Kilky raid. Where's my raid thing?
It might pop up here in a second.
No, I was looking for
your
my
emotes,
little
Okay.
raid emote. She gave you a shout out.
Yay!
Yay.
Woo, I've been shouted at.
Yeah,